Iruma Suzuki, a 14-year-old Japanese boy incapable of refusing polite requests, works hard to support his scumbag parent. He is suddenly kidnapped to the netherworld by the demon Sullivan after Iruma's parents sold his soul. Sullivan wishes to adopt Iruma as his beloved grandson, since his friends Levi and Belial always boast about their grandsons, and he is jealous. Iruma agrees and is enrolled in demon school, where he must keep his human identity secret or risk being eaten by his classmate. Iruma attends the opening ceremony and learns Sullivan is the school's director. First-year representative Asmodeus Alice tries to give his speech, but Sullivan makes Iruma do it instead. Iruma reads a speech provided by Sullivan, terrifying and impressing the students, as the speech was actually a dangerous spell to prevent Iruma from failing or embarrassing himself. Asmodeus challenges Iruma to a duel for insulting him, but Iruma, having been raised by scumbag parents, who has developed an almost superhuman ability to dodge everything. The other students assume Iruma refuses to fight back because he considers Asmodeus weak. When a girl in the audience is almost get hit by an attack, Iruma saves her, but the effects of Sullivan's spell prevent him from falling forwards, and he accidentally knocks Asmodeus unconscious by throwing him backward in a German suplex. The story spreads throughout the school, making Iruma famous. Iruma is shocked when Asmodeus happily declares himself Iruma's servant. Sullivan is delighted that Iruma seems to have a bright future in the netherworld. During breakfast with Sullivan, Iruma demonstrates his ability to consume truly shocking amounts of food. He tries to refuse to attend demon school, but decides to go when Sullivan reveals he has brought even more thoughtful gifts for him. Asmodeus informs Iruma that they must summon their magical familiars, and the strength of the familiar will determine their demonic rank and which class they are placed in. Their advisor, Naberius Caligo, immediately dislikes Iruma for being Sullivan's grandson. To summon a familiar, the students perform a ceremony using their blood on summoning parchments marked with Naberius's demonic seal to prevent cheating. Asmodeus summons a fire-breathing Gorgon snake. Iruma tries a summoning, but as he has no demonic power in his blood, the familiar summoning accidentally becomes a demon summoning using the power of Naberius's demonic seal, causing Naberius to be summoned as Iruma's familiar in the embarrassing form of a small, cute, fluffy owl with bat wings and horns. Despite it being an accident, the other students assume Iruma must have been more powerful than Naberius to be able to bind him as a familiar. Sullivan happily informs them that the familiar summoning contracts are unbreakable and last an entire year. Naberius becomes bedridden from shock, and Iruma's rank is left undetermined. Iruma meets a hyperactive student named Vala Clara, whom Asmodeus warns Iruma not to speak to. Asmodeus explains Clara is a weirdo who people try to avoid. Clara becomes attached to Iruma, who is compelled to play with her after she says please. Clara reveals she has magical pockets which can copy any object she sees. Iruma learns that other students have been manipulating Clara into creating free food for them. Clara sadly reveals she has gotten used to having to bribe people to be her friends. When she tries to bribe Iruma, he refuses, upsetting her until Iruma reveals he wants to be her friend without bribes. This makes Clara so happy that when the other students try manipulating her again, she throws a vending machine at them before using Asmodeus as a target for her paint dodgeball. Iruma is unsure if Asmodeus and Clara are his friends since he never had friends before. Iruma learns that a student's rank controls what food they can order. Clara gets in trouble with a snack stall owner who considers her replicating pockets a form of shoplifting. Naberius arrives to settle the matter only for Clara to trick Iruma into summoning Naberius, turning him into an owl. Iruma, Clara, and Asmodeus flee while the stall owner traps Naberius and demands payment for the shoplifted items. Iruma asks Asmodeus and Clara if they are friends, but is surprised to learn that demons have no concept of friends, but they agree to be friends anyway. Sullivan holds a faculty meeting where it is decided that Iruma, Clara, and Asmodeus will all be placed in the misfit class for problem children. Sullivan reveals to Iruma he put him in a class of troublemakers to help him not stand out, along with Asmodeus and Clara, so he wouldn't be alone. Iruma immediately runs afoul of booby traps set by his new classmates, who wagered on whether he would survive. Iruma meets Sabnak Saburo, a tall, muscular delinquent who plans on becoming the next demon king. Iruma learns that there are 10 demonic ranks, with Yod or 10 the rank being the strongest, and the demon king is always chosen from among the Yod. Sabnak admits he was placed in the misfit class for trying to defeat a teacher. Naberius arrives and gives them a task to determine their ranks, a race through a dangerous valley. Though Naberius warns them to avoid the guardian beast that is in a particularly foul mood, most students opt to fly, except for Iruma, who has no demon wings and simply falls off the cliff when pushed by an impatient Naberius. Sabnak flies straight for the guardian, hoping to defeat it and get a high rank. Iruma is carried off by demonic crows that accidentally drop drop him in the guardian's nest with its baby who was injured. Iruma tries to help the baby and discovers his human blood can heal demons' injuries. Instantly, the grateful baby decides to fly Iruma to the flag as a thank you. Elsewhere, Sabnok admits he made a mistake by trying to defeat the guardian as it easily overpowers him. Sabnok reveals he wants to become Demon King to prove himself better than his pacifist older brother. Iruma suddenly lands in front of him, pacifying the guardian by showing its child is healed. Sabnok assumes Iruma is somehow powerful enough not to be afraid of the guardian. At the finish line, Asmodeus places first and Clara riding on Asmodeus' shoulders comes second. Iruma and Sabnok end up last despite riding on the guardian's back. Naberius explains a rank owl will provide everyone with rank badges, and Sabnok declares Iruma his rival. Asmodeus earns Alet the 4th rank. Clara earns Gimel 3rd rank and Sabnok earns Bet 2nd rank. Iruma, instead of a badge, receives a gold ring. A startled Sabnok recalls a prophecy that the next Demon King will make other demons his servants, heal injuries with his blood, and wear Salomon's golden ring. Iruma freaks out when a black flame demon appears from the ring and starts draining power from his classmate. Naberius senses the ring threatening him and moves to sever Iruma's entire arm, but is stopped by Sullivan, who scolds him. Sullivan explains that the ring is the gluttonous feeder ring that eats magic power, then pacifies it by feeding it some of his power. Iruma's rank is undetermined again, and by default receives the lowest rank Aleph. Meanwhile, his taming of the Guardian and his ring attacking his classmates increase his fame yet again. Iruma's fame draws the attention of the student council as well. In botany class, the students learn to use magic to grow demonic plants. Sabnok produces a feral flower that eats everything it sees. Asmodeus creates an elegant flower with flaming petals, and Clara, a mutated flower beyond rational description. Having no magic, Iruma says the spell as a joke while thinking of his home in Japan. Sullivan's magic suddenly bursts from his ring, as Sullivan calls Iruma to explain that the ring lets Iruma use magic, but Sullivan has forgotten to set a limit on its output. Iruma's overpowered seed explodes into a giant cherry blossom tree, destroying the greenhouse. Student Council President Azazel Amiri recognizes the tree as a human plant and suspects Iruma is a human. Amiri privately reveals most demons believe humans do not exist, but her family secretly owns a library of sacred relics that are Japanese manga and is obsessed with the First Love memory series. But as she cannot read Japanese and has mistakenly concluded it is a manual of human love spells, Iruma tries to clean up the falling cherry blossoms despite Clara making more mess. As he leaves, Iruma turns a corner and accidentally knocks Amiri over. Amiri, recognizing the similarity to a romance scene from First Love memories, believes Iruma is trying to make her fall in love with him using human magic and concludes he must be human. Iruma assumes Amiri is angry, while Amiri assumes she is in a magical love duel. Amiri realizes he can read Japanese and rather than reveal he is human, drags him to her office and asks him to read the story out loud for her. After Iruma finishes, an embarrassed Amiri puts her number on his phone so she can ask him to read for her again. Iruma can't decide if he prefers his old life or his new life. Opera informs him it may be possible to visit the human world if he becomes a high-ranking demon. Iruma is summoned by Amiri, making Asmodeus and Clara suspicious. Amiri decides, based on First Love memories, that spending time with Iruma counts as a date. Asmodeus and Clara buy a detection warding glasses to hide while following Iruma. Asmodeus assumes Iruma is hatching a plan to take over the student council, while Clara assumes they are excluding her from a new game. After learning about ambition from First Love memories and listening to Amiri's plans for the future, Iruma realizes his pushover personality had prevented him from having any ambition of his own. Asmodeus tries to stop Clara from ruining Iruma's plans of taking over the school. Iruma struggles to come up with a dream, so Amiri urges him to raise his rank as a temporary goal. Clara breaks into the room to take Iruma back, assuming Amiri was trying to steal him. As time passes and Iruma spends more time with Amiri, and Clara becomes increasingly jealous, so Sabnok suggests she lure Iruma with her feminine wiles. As Clara has no feminine wiles, she joins a seduction class to learn sexiness, but the succubus teacher Rain determined she only has 2% sexiness, making her impossibly innocent. Clara tries to use seduction methods on Iruma, but he assumes she is playing games. The next day, Clara tries to use a kiss attack, but Iruma avoids it with his superhuman reflexes. Skill Clara ends up receiving detention from Naberius. Clara admits she has zero sex appeal and resigns herself to losing Iruma until Iruma innocently reveals he does think of her as a girl. Restoring her confidence enough, she declares she will make Iruma fall for her. Iruma feels an unusual thump in his heart as she pulls him along, holding his hand. Raim happily observes that Clara's sexiness has risen to 10%. Iruma decides to get serious about raising his rank from first to second. Iruma asks Asmodeus to help him climb the ranks, and Asmodeus overreacts and begins planning to make Iruma a Yod 10D rank and rule the school. Though Iruma assures him he would be content with making it to Bet, Asmodeus agrees. Assuming Iruma has a complicated reason for becoming a vet and explains the best way is to score well on an upcoming rank promotion exam. Based on execution, cannonball is a dangerous competition similar to human dodgeball. Iruma assumes he will do well with his ability to avoid danger until he realizes the other students are allowed to use their demonic powers. He asks Sullivan for training and learns he can use the ring to use magic for the exam, but Iruma decides he wants to compete with his own power and not magic borrowed from Sullivan. Sullivan strengthens Iruma's hands to give him a fair chance, then leaves the physical training to Opera. Iruma struggles to catch the ball as his instinct is still to dodge, but he refuses to give up and even gets help from Asmodeus and Clara. After a week, he still can't catch the ball, but Opera assures Sullivan Iruma is having fun. Eventually, Iruma manages to catch the ball, and Opera informs Sullivan Iruma is ready to take the exam. The day of the exam arrives, Naberius explains. Their ranks will be increased based on the opponents they defeat, but only if they are the winning team. Asmodeus is assigned to a different team from Iruma, but decides to help him. The exam is instant chaos as Iruma's classmates use their powers, while Clara floods the court with multiple balls. Iruma manages to catch the real ball, only to realize he never learned how to throw it. Sabnok, irritated at Asmodeus appears to be daydreaming, tries to strike him, but Asmodeus strikes Sabnok out instead. Asmodeus continues to strike players out without thinking until only he and Iruma remain. Asmodeus is put in a tight spot. If he lets Iruma win, he could be helping Iruma gain a rank, but also undermine all his hard work. After a moment of hesitation, he decides to throw with his full power. Amiri arrives to watch the exam for herself. Iruma overcomes his fear and catches the powerful throw, but he cannot stop it, and instead he spins in a circle to redirect the ball's momentum back at Asmodeus, who is struck by his own power. Naberius, impressed by Iruma's tactic, promotes his rank to bet. Amiri congratulates Iruma on finally gaining ambition. Iruma thanks Opera for all his training, upsetting an emotional Sullivan, who realizes he did very little to help Iruma at all. A new teacher, Robin, begins teaching the misfit class about the importance of bonding with one's familiar. Asmodeus and Sabnok summon their Gorgon snake, and Kelby horse, and Clara summons her Farfel, a rare familiar whose actions are mysterious. Iruma tries to refuse until Robin says please, so Iruma summons a furious Naberius. Robin reminds Iruma that he needs to control his familiar, according to the rules written by Naberius. Naberius decides to make Iruma the best summoner in class, even though it involves playing embarrassing games to promote trust. Iruma sincerely apologizes, so Naberius asks why Iruma didn't summon him to fight the Valley Guardian. Iruma explains it was so neither Naberius nor the Guardian would get hurt. Asmodeus and Sabnok get into a fight, so Naberius defeats their familiar and angrily informs the students that familiars are powerful, violent monsters only kept in check by their contract. The best summoner should train their familiars while also fearing them, as Iruma does. Naberius also forces Robin to rethink his teaching style. Iruma learns about the Battlers, the group of students with similar interests who form groups to help each other raise their ranks like school clubs. Iruma decides to join one of the Battlers, find a new goal, and possibly raise his rank again. Asmodeus tries to prepare Iruma as the senior Battlers begin their rookie hunt, an intensely terrifying stampede by older students to recruit first-year students into their group. As the hunt begins, most seniors try to recruit Asmodeus. The hunt is so brutal that the first years are put in actual physical danger. Amiri and the student council monitor most of the mayhem, while Iruma realizes that Amiri is the student council president. Amiri surprises everybody by inviting Iruma to join the council's battler. Naberius announces a 3-day trial period where students can try numerous battlers before deciding which join permanently. Clara shows repeated interest in Raim's succubus battler. Iruma struggles to decide as his fame means he's invited to join every battler. His ring suddenly activates and drags him through the air, dropping him on Kirio, the recruiter for the magical apparatus battler whose necklace is made from the same metal as the ring. Iruma visits several battlers, most of which are dangerous in some way and unsuitable. Sullivan alters Iruma's ring so he can choose the level of magic he wants to use: Devil, Demon, or Ifrit, and a level for emergencies only, Pandora. Amiri texts Iruma reminding him to visit the council battler before the trial period is over. Iruma is caught up in an explosion caused by one of Kirio's apparatuses. The council members are confused over Amiri's sudden enthusiasm for battler recruitment. Iruma texted her that he won't be able to visit council after Kirio's explosion, but Amiri believes finding out she is the council president has scared him away. Kirio explains that he researches and creates magic items, but his magic power is so weak he cannot use the items he creates. His goal is to allow weaker demons to stand up to higher level demons that mistreat them. Iruma decides to join his battler and is followed by Clara and Asmodeus. Iruma does later visit the student council to Amiri's delight, at least until Iruma explains that he joined another battler with the trial period over. The school prepares for their battler party for battlers to welcome their new recruits and meet their parents. Sullivan must attend 13's dinner, a meeting for the Netherworld's 13 greatest heroes, all of whom are concerned that Netherworld is falling into chaos without a demon king and believe it is time to raise either Sullivan, Levi, or Belial to the throne. Levi and Belial agree Sullivan should take the throne, but Sullivan refuses as he would have less time to spend with Iruma. Henry, one of the 13 and Amiri's father, is forced to arrest Sullivan after finding evidence Sullivan illegally visited the human world. Sullivan is questioned by Demon Border Control, while most of the first years panic at the thought of their parents visiting the school.
Sullivan appoints Naberius as temporary school director, while the rest of the staff wonders what Sullivan did to get arrested. Kirio reveals that all battlers give presentations competing for prizes, maybe even a rise in rank. But the magical apparatus battler has such a small budget, they normally stand no chance until Iruma is inspired to create fireworks. As the testing requires darkness, Kirio decides they must stay at school overnight while trying to create gunpowder. Kirio reveals he can create magical barrier, the only reason he survived so many explosions. Iruma asks Amiri to loan him one of her manga so Kirio can see what a firework should look like, but she refuses, at least until she realizes she would get to see real fireworks. After they successfully create fireworks, they exhaust themselves with a pillow fight utilizing Iruma's dodge ability and Kirio's barrier. Kirio is later contracted by a powerful demon named Baal that can use lightning magic, revealing he is the reason Sullivan has been arrested and has been plotting with Kirio to create a machine to destroy the school. It is announced the battler party will last 3 days and the first place prize will be an increase in rank for the battler members and an increase in rank for the battler president. Kirio continues working on his machine, while flashbacks show he was only able to complete due to Iruma's help and that his powerful demon friend plans to use his machine to kill as many students as possible. As Kirio works in his hidden workshop, he is suddenly interrupted by Iruma, who has been dragged through the air by his ring, searching for Kirio's necklace. Kirio decides to reveal to Iruma that the secret workshop is hidden on the school roof behind one-way soundproof glass, and that is planned to help the weak stand up to the strong. Still not understanding Kirio's meaning, Iruma urges him to try to win first prize with their fireworks to prove they don't need to be strong to win. Kirio appears happy that he and Iruma are so alike. With the preparations over, the battler party can finally begin. Iruma and the others decide to scout their competition. Iruma knocks the yakisoba battler out of the competition by devouring their famous ogre-sized serving, leaving them with no ingredient. Iruma is warned by his classmates that his main competitors are the new magic battler who will attempt to conjure water from a stone. The game battler, with its virtual sorcery hat, allows people to experience virtual reality adventures as well as the underwater circus and the magic beast battles. Asmodeus reveals they will set off their main firework as the school bell rings to signal the start of competition. Clara accidentally lights the fuse, but when it misfires, they realize their biggest firework is missing. Kirio takes the stolen firework to his workshop. Amiri's father possesses evidence of Sullivan kidnapping Iruma, given to him by Babyls, the powerful demon helping Kirio. As the sun sets, Kirio destroys his necklace, covering the entire school with multiple barriers, preventing people from being able to move around. Iruma finds himself separated from Asmodeus and Clara by a barrier, while Kirio begins his plan. Sullivan senses the barriers appearing, and Iruma realizes the barriers are Kirio. Naberius finds the barriers are self-repairing, meaning they could have only been cast by a 9th rank and can likely only be fully destroyed by a Ya 10 the rank like Sullivan, meaning his arrest was arranged beforehand. Naberius manages to move by breaking barriers and moving through before they can repair, and has another teacher announce to the students that the barriers are a surprise maze event by the new magic and game battlers. Naberius begins researching all demons with barrier creation abilities. When most of the students make it to the courtyard easily, Naberius worries they were manipulated into going to the courtyard. Kirio loads the firework into a school destroyer machine, but suddenly realizes Iruma is heading to the lab, somehow finding his way towards Kirio, even though Kirio destroyed his necklace. Asmodeus deduced Kirio must have been planning his attack for years, and now is using a map of the school, and uses one of Kirio's magical apparatus, copied by Clara, to guide Iruma through the barrier. Naberius identifies Kirio as the likely suspect and orders the teachers to capture him. Part of the school collapses, and Amiri saves a student from being killed. Iruma finally reaches the workshop, and Kirio reveals his plans to use the firework to destroy the school. Kirio reveals the Amy family is famous for their barriers and magical strength, but when he was born with weak magic, he was sent to the garden of delinquents for problem children. Despite being bullied, he made a friend, but when bullies stole her earring and threw it in a river, Kirio tried to catch it with a barrier, but failed, devastating her. That was when Kirio realized he perversely enjoyed watching people's despair. Baal, who believed demons are too nice compared to their society's evil past, helped Kirio's plan to destroy Babyls as a symbol of their weakened society. While Kirio plans on enjoying Iruma's despair when Clara and Asmodeus die, however, when Iruma seems unconcerned and calmly removes the firework, Kiryu is confused. Iruma explains that thanks to his childhood, he rarely feels despair anymore, and Kiryu realizes that he and Iruma are not alike at all. Iruma unlocks his ring's Ifrit mode to throw the firework into the sky, but it hits the barrier. With the explosion seconds away, Iruma breaks a promise he made to Sullivan and unlocks the ring's Pandora mode, obliterating the barrier and exploding the firework in the sky where it delights all the watching students. With Iruma passed out, Kiryu saves him from falling off the roof, and despite raging that his plan is ruined, he admits defeat and that Iruma is a better demon than he is. It is revealed that as Iruma was talking with Kiryu, Robin used archery magic to shoot a warning note to Sullivan. Sullivan then broke out of prison and saw Iruma use Pandora to destroy the barrier, and Sullivan then saves the school from falling debris. The teachers apprehended Kiryu, though he's taken down by Demon Border Control to be interrogated. Sullivan shows Iruma that his firework was immensely powerful and dangerous for the student. Though he is scolded by Amiri, who wanted to watch the firework together, Iruma shares credit for the firework with Asmodeus, Clara, and Kiryu. As the bachelor party starts, the students vote for their favorite battler. Just as their parents turn up for the party, Iruma prepares the remaining fireworks before meeting 4 of Clara's 5 siblings and her mother. Asmodeus is caught by his mother, Amaryllis, a demon lord of seduction, who showers Asmodeus with love and affection. Sullivan and Opera arrive to attend the festival with Iruma, causing general chaos as they do. As the sun sets, they set off fireworks and Iruma declares his new family to be his pride and joy for insisting on posing for a photograph with Sullivan and Opera. With the voting over, the winner of the bachelor party is decided. The closing spectacular begins with the handing out of prizes. The succubus battler receives an upgraded club room, the new magic battler, and a year's supply of black holy water. While the grand prize of rank increase is given to the broadcast, Furious announces that, for unspecified reasons, an extra award has been created. The prize, for which is one member of the battler, will go up by 1 rank. The winners are announced to be the magical apparatus battlers, with Iruma getting the rank increase to Gimbal rank. And that's the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you at the next one.